going to be difficult, but I think I can manage.
So when I introduce you, you just want me to say Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis?
Sure. Yeah, that works.
All right. Hey, congratulations on getting to do TMS tomorrow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. I
getting
literally got a message from Scott on Monday, and I was like, yeah. And I went right away and put in the leave request for work. I'm like, I'm going to be out on Thursday.
That's cool.
I'm busy. But, yeah.
That's awesome.
Brian's, I guess, in Anaheim for something.
I'll be watching in the morning. I usually listen live while I'm at work.
Yeah, it's fun. I've enjoyed the couple of times I've been on to do it. So, plus it's Thursday, so it's the therapy Thursdays with his sister.
Yeah, you don't.
Which
have
means
to do
I can
much.
just kind of, yeah, I can just hang back for the last half of it and just listen.
Yeah, Jacob has no idea what we're talking about.
You're talking about the Morning Stream podcast.
Oh, you do know what we're talking about. Good for you.
Yeah, because we had Brian Ibbett on, so I had to do my researches.
I just had him on my show a couple weeks ago.
I just listened to that episode last week.
He had never seen a single Michael Myers Halloween film.
How have you? He's older than me. How have you gone?
I know.
40.
That was why the first question I asked him, like, how did you not accidentally watch one of those movies?
Right.
Like,
there's no way
it comes on
cable.
TV.
Yeah. But he just happened to miss it.
Like, even as when I was a kid, like, you couldn't even scroll past like the channels during the month of October without running into the original Halloween movie at some point.
He did, after watching that one with me and talking with me about it, he did go that night and watch Halloween 2.
Oh, yeah.
So he enjoyed it that much. I was glad. That's such a good movie.
I want to hear what he thinks about Halloween 3, because that's my personal favorite.
I do too,
Jacob.
because I love that one.
You're the only other person that likes that movie besides me.
I think it's because, I know that's what, if Carpenter had his way, they would have all been like that. They would have just been these different stories all centered around the holiday of Halloween.
See, this is show content. We should be talking about this during the show. Let's get this thing.
Sorry,
rolling.
everything's content, damn it. Shut up,
right.
Travis.
Here we go. You ready? You ready, Jacob? Ready, Travis?
Yeah.
Ready.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That music can only mean one thing. It is time for the Open Micers podcast. My name is Jason Robbins.
My name is Jacob Craig. And there are only a few simple joys in life, Jason, but one of them is seeing the confusion in our guests' eyes when we tell them it's time to start the podcast, and then it's utter silence for 20 seconds because they can't hear the theme music.
Oh, you guys couldn't hear it?
We never tell them.
Oh my God! Why didn't you say anything? I could have fixed that by now.
Because it's my favorite meme, Jason, and you can't take it from me.
Damn it, Jacob! This is your job. When you're on the other end of the Zoom call, you're supposed to tell me when you can't hear the damn.
I'm bad at podcasts.
You were awful. You're the worst co-host ever. I'm gonna get Derek in here. Like, you're done. This is your last show.
If you get Derek, you and Derek, then it's just Nerdgate Retro Part 2. Like, Derek doesn't know anything about comedy.
Well, Travis, are you looking for a new podcast job?
Oh man, that's what I need, is to add another one to my list.
Well,
can you do a Type 5? That's what you got to do. You got to put a Type 5 together, and then you can be on the comedy podcast.
That voice you hear right there is Travis, a.k.a. at TV's Travis on Twitter, who has his own podcast called Wait, You Haven't Seen? Which I've been on before. And he also does another show called Let's Watch Highlander. So give a warm welcome to Mr. at TV's Travis.
Hey. Yeah, I have those two. I also co-host a show on classic TV called Those Were the Days.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
And one on horror movies called Gore.
So
oh shit.
I do too much. I'm a podcasting shark. If I stop, I'll die. So I just have to keep making shows.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Wait, sharks die if they don't move?
If they don't swim.
How do you not know this?
Dude, come on.
All right, you don't know about sharks. You're not telling me when you can't hear the music or the sound effects. Like you're batting 1,000 tonight, bro.
This is going to be a good episode too, because I also have not seen a lot of good movies.
Well, when I tell you
Bad
about
movies. It doesn't have to be good. Just anything.
When I tell you about good movies, you hate them. So I don't give you any suggestions anymore. We were just talking before the show, Travis. We were talking about his show Wait You Haven't Seen, and recently did an episode where our previous guest, Mr. Brian Ibbett from the Morning Stream in Coverville, was on Wait You Haven't Seen, and he did the original Halloween, and he's never seen it. And we're like, how have you never seen, like, even accidentally, have you never seen a Halloween movie? Like, that's just mind-blowing.
Like, I've had that a couple of times. I had somebody who had never seen The Princess Bride, and I'm like, you think maybe that's somebody that's a little bit, no, it's older than I am, had never seen The Princess Bride. I'm like, again, how do you not? Another one was Die Hard. Somebody about just a couple of years younger than me had never seen Die Hard. I'm like, come on, we're fixing that. I will tie you to a chair and make you watch Die Hard.
I mean, okay, Princess Bride's one thing. I can see where people would think, they see the cover for The Princess Bride. It sounds like, it would be like something not what it is. So I can understand passing that movie by, but Die Hard is like, it gets beamed into your head.
I mean, classic Christmas movie.
Yeah.
To steal a line from Wayne's World, they used to hand it out in the mail with boxes of Tide.
Yeah.
Like, you just got it. It was just there. But
it's like when you buy a house, every house comes with a copy of The Matrix on DVD and a copy of Die Hard on DVD.
Yep. Depending on when it was. If it was built before 1997, it was a VHS copy.
Yeah, VHS, yeah.
But it was the letterboxed one. It was the nice high-end one. So, no, but like The Princess Bride in this day and age, in the age of the internet, like everybody talks about that movie. You can't escape it. Yeah. So that was another one that just surprised. It happens. I mean, we all have our blind spots. I went 25 years not having seen The Shawshank Redemption.
Wow.
Which was the kind of thing as a film buff. It was like my hidden shame that I didn't tell people about. I would just be like, yeah, The Shawshank Redemption. Sure. I haven't seen that. I don't know it. So I finally watched it, and it's better than everyone told me that it was.
One of the most perfect movies ever made. I mean, if you've never seen it, holy crap, you need to get on that.
Yeah, it's absolutely just a mind-blowing movie. So
we
all have our blind spots. That's why I started the show.
We talked about before the show, which led us to Halloween 3, and you're one of the only other few humans that I talked to that actually likes that movie. Jacob can't stand it, and I don't really
fucking stand it.
I don't understand why.
Like, if you're gonna have bad sequels to horror films, just go for it. Go bonkers. And that's what I like about Halloween 3 is it just is like, I don't care about anything. We're going to I will watch Halloween 3 before I watch 4, 5, 6, Resurrection,
H2O,
Rob Zombie versions. I liked H2O, but I would watch Halloween 3 first.
No, now you're speaking my language. It's so bad you got to watch it. Like that, I understand.
See, when I watch Halloween 3, it doesn't even register that it's a Halloween movie.
Sure.
I mean, it does and it doesn't, right? Because it's not John Carpenter, but it has like a lot of the hallmarks of his style because it's actually somebody that worked on the first Halloween movie.
It's the most John Carpenter, non-John Carpenter directed movie ever.
Absolutely. But it's so bonkers. It's got that stupid jingle for Silver Shamrock that will worm its way into your brain. And it's the second or third most earwormy thing I've ever heard behind like the theme to DuckTales and, maybe Never Gonna Give You Up. Like it just gets in there and then you can't get it out. But it's such a bonkers fun movie and I love it. And I was lucky enough to get to see it on a big screen a few years ago.
Oh, really?
It was our local theater would do these all night Halloween things every year. And so that year they did Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and Halloween 2018. And they played, it was like $15 or something like that. And you got to go see all 4 movies that night.
That's a perfect night.
Amazing.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It was awesome.
And one of the things I was wanting to talk to you about as well, I was listening to your latest episode, listening to it today actually about 12 Monkeys.
Mhm.
And you guys were discussing Terry Gilliam, and it struck me that, I saw 12 Monkeys in the theater, and I could have done that episode with you guys because I literally remember nothing from that movie. The only thing that I slightly remember, and tell me if this is in that movie or not, I remember CGI giraffes running across a bridge. So that happened.
Yes, there were giraffes on a bridge. There was a scene early in the movie where there's a lion on top of a like a library, like walking along the roof of a library.
That I don't remember.
Yeah, it's Terry Gilliam's movies. I mentioned it on the show, but like typically you can't watch that movie once and sort of remember everything and get it, because his movies are, especially a lot of his earlier stuff, was such this weird like experience that you would go through. On top of just all of his filmmaking tricks of like Dutch tilts and weird zooms, and he would use wide angle lens and then put it right up on somebody's face so they're all distorted, and just it messes with your head, and so it's hard to remember some of those.
Well, the thing is, I remember, I know I've seen most of his movies. Like I've seen Baron Munchausen, I've seen what are some of the other, the Brazil
Time Bandits, Brazil.
Bandits. I've seen all those movies, and I don't remember anything from them. So it's like his movies do like a mind wipe on me after I've seen them.
It kind of, yeah, a little bit of that. It took me quite a while before I started, and I remember movies that I saw when I was a kid, like pretty vividly, but it took me a while to really lock in Terry Gilliam's movies and be able to recall them, because your brain is just so bombarded with visual audio stuff that's so discordant, and it kind of mind wipes you a little bit. My dad always said, like, I can't watch a Terry Gilliam movie one time and get it. That happened to me once. I went and saw The Brothers Grimm in theaters.
Nice.
And I walked out of that and I was like, I understood all of that the first time. That's the worst Terry Gilliam movie I've ever seen.
And even then, I've seen that movie. Nothing, like, does nothing about that movie stuck in my brain. And I don't know what it is about his particular movies I've seen, and nothing. I got nothing.
It's because he's a mad genius, is what he is. And unfortunately, he also can be kind of difficult sometimes in interviews, but that also makes for like some of the most interesting interviews and documentaries you'll ever see. My favorite Terry Gilliam thing of all time is a documentary called Lost in La Mancha, and it's about him trying to make, because he came out with a movie about 2 or 3 years ago called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, and it starred Adam Driver. That movie he had been trying to make for 20 years, and back in the early 2000s he was working on it, and I have never seen so much go so wrong so quickly. Like anything that could possibly happen to stop him from making that movie happened, including but not limited to his star who was supposed to play Don Quixote in it becoming too sick to ride a horse, and so he couldn't be Don Quixote anymore. And there was a storm that rolled through. They were shooting somewhere in Spain, I think it was, and a storm rolled through one night, and it was such a bad storm that it literally changed the landscape.
Wow.
And they couldn't use anything they had shot because everything was completely different after that. Like it eroded stuff and just this torrential downpour. It was like the powers, somebody from up on high was telling Terry Gilliam, no, you are not making, I don't care. Well, I will change the earth to stop you from making this movie.
Have you ever seen, that reminds me of that documentary about the making of The Island of Dr. Moreau. Have you ever seen that documentary?
Yep. Yeah. That's another one of those movies that like,
how did it even get made? Like you hear about these horror stories about those movies, and you just like, it's a miracle that they even got made.
Honestly, it's a miracle any movie gets made. And I was watching a video. It was talking about, I can't remember what movie they were talking about. But they had the quote in their video of, a movie getting made and finished is like throwing a dart from space and hitting a bullseye. It's a miracle it ever happens. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you see some of these behind the scenes things is like, Yeah, it really is. Like, so many things have to go right. And I was having a discussion with somebody recently about directors, because we were talking about Denis Villeneuve. And I mean, he did Blade Runner 2049, Dune, Sicario. He's done these amazing things. And part of it is that he is such a good artist and this visual filmmaker, but as a director, you also have to be an incredible project manager, and you have to be able to delegate and keep all the plates spinning. And it's amazing. And to hear some of these horror stories, it's like, wow, you made a movie. And look, Island of Dr. Moreau isn't good. I mean,
No.
I'll just come right out and say that. But the fact they got anything done is miraculous. When you got Marlon Brando showing up, just being like, script, I don't need a script. I'm just going to make stuff up because that's what I feel like doing. And I'm going to show up out of shape. And who cares? I'm Marlon Brando. I'm going to do what I want. And what do you do at that point as a director? You're just like, you're Marlon Brando. Do what you want. I'll point a camera at you and hopefully something good happens.
Must be nice to wield that kind of power.
Yeah.
Just show up when you want.
I mean, you it must be, right? It's got to be great to be Marlon Brando and be able to do that. But at the same time, use your powers for good. Help other people.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the first movie you heard horror stories about him personally. I mean, look at Superman when they were filming Superman. Like, he refused to learn his lines. Like, they had to literally write his lines down and tape them everywhere he was going to be looking so that he could say his lines. Like, and they paid him what, like $2 or $3 million for like a day's worth of work.
So, from Superman, didn't he get in an argument with Richard Donner about how he wanted Jor-El to just be a bagel?
He did. Yeah, that's true. That is a true story.
Like, I'm not making that actually happen.
That actually happened.
Actors are weird. I mean, think of all the stories you've heard of Daniel Day-Lewis, where they like, was it My Left Foot, where he was making people carry him around set?
Well, that's
if he
something.
Wasn't in his wheelchair.
Method acting is something that I just cannot understand. Like, I've been to acting, years of acting classes and stuff. I've been on sets. I've been on movies, and I just don't understand how, like, you're acting, you're playing a part. When the camera goes on, you hit action. You know, you should be able to turn it on and off to act.
Who does that is Gary Oldman.
Yeah,
right. Gary Oldman. I want to say it was Air Force One, and he was shooting a scene in that. And of course, if you've ever seen Air Force One, you know what he's like in that movie. No, it wasn't that. It was The Professional. That's what it was. And his character is awful in The Professional. And he was, I think he had like frightened Natalie Portman or something. But then the cameras would go off and he would just be like, "Hey, I'm Gary. How you doing?" And just be super friendly. Yeah. And someone asked him, he's like, "It's called acting, dear boy. That's what you do." Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, which is super impressive, because I get method acting to a point. But when you are making people call you Andy Kaufman, whether you're on camera or not, or you're doing some of these other crazy things that method acting is not a license to be a dick to everybody, which some people, and I'm not going to name any names, Jared Leto, but they do that. I'm sorry, I had something caught in my throat there. They do that, and it's just like, come on, you're better than that. Like, these people have good skill at acting. You don't need to stay in character all the time. And in fact, a lot of that's a fallacy anyway. Like, that's not actually what the method that who is it? Stanislavski, I think, is the name that always comes up. That, like, his whole thing had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
At all. So
it's just so weird. Like, I
it
don't
is
know.
Weird.
If I was on a set or a movie and somebody, and they do it for like the stupidest movies too, like Jared Leto,
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, like walking around like
not worth it, bro.
Make him be the joke. Like, dude, you're the fucking Joker. Like, just turn it on and off, man. Like, you don't have to.
To be fair, I mean, the Joker kind of killed Heath Ledger, so like.
I think there was more to that story than just him being the Joker, but nah, that's just me.
Oh yeah, there was a lot more going on there, but like, I mean, look, it didn't kill Jack Nicholson. He did it, and he was a crazy. Honestly, his Joker was really crazy too. People don't remember unless you go back and watch Batman. His Joker's unhinged.
Yeah, his Joker was wild. He was out here wild.
what he had was he had a restrained craziness to him where like it was all internal, whereas Jared Leto was like, I'm just going to paint it all over my face and become the try hard Joker, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I feel like with method acting though, like it's kind of getting phased out. Like you can not really do it anymore because you have people like Shia LaBeouf getting thrown off of film sets because directors are just like, I can replace you with anyone else. Like you're Shia fucking LaBeouf. I'm gonna replace you with Harry Styles and make a better movie.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you can do method acting in a way that is not harmful to other people and you can get a performance out of it. Giovanni Ribisi, I have yet to hear like horror stories of working with him. I think the worst one I ever heard was he did a movie in 2002 called Basic.
Yeah.
And his character had been like lost in the jungle for a couple of days, and they brought him in and he was in a hospital bed. So he just like didn't bathe for a day or two. It was all grimy and gritty because he wanted to feel that for the character. That's not hurting anybody else. He's just like, you know, being dirty on sitting on a bed. He's not messing with other people. That's fine. Like I can, to a certain extent, I can let method acting go. It's when you start really harming or imposing that on other people where I'm like, come on. I mean, really, you don't need that. Like, you don't need to mail shit to your co-stars. You're not the Joker.
Yeah.
You're not actually the Joker.
Yeah. I feel like that also pertains to like what Kanye West is doing right now. Like, you're not the Joker, you know?
No. That's like some Joaquin Phoenix level performance art that's going on. The problem is that Joaquin Phoenix knew at some point the performance ends and I can go back to just being a normal dude, or as normal as Joaquin Phoenix is ever going to be.
Yeah.
Kanye hasn't reached that level of self-awareness.
I feel like everyone in Hollywood is just tired of people like trying to do whatever they want just because they're like really good at what they do. Like it doesn't give you an excuse to just like trespass into Skechers. Like you can't do that just because you're Kanye West.
No, and also like it's just so much more of there's more people are being held accountable. You can't get away with that shit, and it just like get brushed under the carpet like it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, in the world of social media, you can't get away with just that kind of shit anymore.
No, somebody is always watching you, always, and at some point the bill's going to come due on what you've done. So you better be able to deal with that.
But your Wait You Haven't Seen podcast is coming up on 200 episodes here really soon.
Yeah. Should be sometime just after the first of the year. I'll hit 200.
So did you think you were going to go 200 episodes?
I didn't think I was going to go 10, honestly. I mean, when I started it, I started doing the show. It was me, and I would rope in a couple of friends of mine. And for the first probably 10 or 15 episodes, it was all people I knew from around here hopping on there. And then I got lucky in that I got selected to be on the second season of America's Next Top Podcaster, hosted by Brian Ibbett. And that competition did so much for me. I learned so much doing it, and I met so many people, and that let me branch out and start getting in touch with more and more people and spreading that out. And to get close to 200 episodes, I also, not only am I coming up on 200 episodes, I haven't missed a week since I started making the show. I started it in March of 2019, and I have done a recording and released something every single week since then.
That's awesome, man. Not even taking a week off. That's dedication.
And it's just, I just enjoy doing it. So, and then at one point I realized, wow, I haven't missed a week yet. Just see how long I can keep this streak going. It's eventually I'm going to miss one. I know. But getting COVID didn't stop it. Because I was lucky. COVID didn't hit me until a Tuesday. So by Sunday I was fine. And I record on Sundays.
Well, it's such a cool premise for a podcast. I mean, it's either you or the guest you have on, one of you, you're watching and talking about a movie that one or the other has not seen before, and you watch it and then discuss it. And it's always a great discussion when, especially like the episode that we did. I had you watch a movie called Freaked, which is an Alex Winter movie from the early 90s. And Jacob, have you ever seen the movie Freaked?
No, dude, we talked about this. You recommended it to me, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere to watch
The
it.
only way to watch it right now is you can watch it on YouTube. Somebody uploaded it to YouTube. Either that or get the DVD, which the DVDs are really expensive these days.
It's one of those movies. It's like Dogma. You can't find Dogma anywhere
Mhm.
online. It's
Yeah.
not available. I'd actually just talked to somebody who's like, I found the special edition DVD in a bargain bin for $1. I'm like, you bought it, right? Because those are rare. But yeah, Freaked is a hell of a movie. Jacob, you got to watch it. It's
Yeah.
you're not, whatever you think it is, you're not ready for it,
Mhm.
Dude,
and that's in the best ways possible.
I definitely want to watch it because I loved Alex Winter before I met him. So I would love to watch that movie.
That's what we were talking
I
about
think
on
we
the
had
show.
that talk, didn't we? Yeah.
Because I met Alex Winter at Pensacon this last year or year before?
Yeah, it was this last year. Yeah.
And talked to him about being on this show here. And man, when I walked up to him and said hi, he just looked like I had shit smeared on my face. Like he didn't want anything to do with me.
Yeah, and I had a
That's rough.
completely separate interaction where I mentioned nothing about wanting him to do anything other than just sign a Bill and Ted DVD that I had brought him, and he acted like it was the biggest fucking inconvenience of his life. And I'm like, dude, this is why you're here. Like, I'm paying you $40 for you to sign a fucking DVD. I'm an idiot. Like, why are you acting like this?
That sucks. I mean, I always have trouble. Like, it's always a 50-50 thing when I meet anybody that's got any level of celebrity, because I have no idea what their day's been like leading up to it.
True.
I have been lucky. I have yet to have a bad interaction with anyone I've met. We have a local film festival used to run here. In fact, I think it will again at some point, but no, they did it this year. It took like 2 years off, I think. But in the early days of it, I would volunteer and help out, and I was a stage manager. So I would be off stage handing microphones out when everybody would go up and before the movies would start. And so I got to meet, it was put on by Michael Moore.
Oh, nice.
He was one of the founders of it. And so I got to meet like the most random selection of people, like Jeff Garlin, Phil Donahue, for some reason was at it. I don't even remember why.
Is he still alive? Jesus.
I mean, this was about 15 years ago, but yeah,
Wow.
I think he still is. I met Malcolm McDowell.
Oh, nice.
Because I think it was the third year of the festival, they played all of Stanley Kubrick's films.
Oh, wow.
And they had Malcolm McDowell came into town, and Jan Harlan, who was the producer for most of them and was Stanley's brother-in-law. So I got to meet him, and it was great because I got to see all of any Kubrick movie I wanted to on a big screen.
Oh, that's cool.
Which that was awesome. Like seeing Barry Lyndon, seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey on a huge screen like we had in this single screen theater.
I feel like that's really the only way to watch that movie is on a big, huge screen.
Kind of is. When I did that one for the show, my guest for that one was like, I was kind of bored watching this movie. I'm like, yeah,
it's not meant to be seen on, a TV screen. It's meant to be huge and just epic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it, so
I mean, and then our local Comic-Con that we have here, I've gotten to meet Brian O'Halloran, Dante from Clerks. He was great.
Oh yeah.
Who cares?
Well, I work with Brian on Monsters Anonymous there,
And then
he's been on the show before.
Yeah.
Okay. Billy West.
Wow.
Awesome. He was great.
I've met Billy West before at Pensacon. I mean, I didn't get anything signed from him or anything, but I said hi to him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, my old stepson, he had a little sketch that he had gotten commissioned earlier in the day of Zoidberg. And so we got Billy West to sign that.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So that was fun. So I've been lucky in that my interactions have all been good. But yeah, it's rough when you meet somebody because one, like I said, you don't know what their day is gonna be like. But two, sometimes they're just dicks, and it's a bummer to find that out too.
Well, it's like you should know, like in context, if someone's coming to your table, there's 100% chance that they probably idolize you, and
Oh,
you're gonna like shit all over their image of you for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people, and Alex Winter is probably one of the worst celebrities I've ever met.
I would put him up there. I think the best celebrity I've ever met. Do you guys know who Matt Ryan is? He plays Constantine
Oh
on
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
oh
Arrow
yeah,
shows.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He is like the nicest person. He's so nice that it's like disarming. Where like I would walk by his table after meeting him, and he would stop me and ask me like, "Hey, is your day going all right? Like, is everything cool?" I'm like,
Wow,
"Yeah, man. Like everything's awesome. Like you want to talk to me again? Like he is
that's cool.
insanely nice." Him and Ross
And
Marquand from The Walking Dead, both insanely nice.
okay,
You know who I
uh,
met that was a surprising encounter was I met Chris Evans at
hmm,
Wizard World back in like 2014 or 15 or something. And IMDb, I don't have it pulled up, but his IMDb has him listed as like 6'1".
mhm.
Yeah,
I'm 6'3". I was easily a foot taller than him. I'm like, you lie.
yeah, but he has a
It's
giant piece on him, so it makes up for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that's like program height, right? For athletes. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you always gotta monkey with that a little bit. It's I just recently the picture resurfaced of Arnold Schwarzenegger with Andre the Giant and Wilt
Mhm.
Chamberlain.
Mhm.
And it's such a brilliant picture because they make Arnold look like their little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, Arnold isn't as tall as you would think when you see him in movies,
Mhm.
but he's still not a small person, and he just looks so tiny next to them. Like celebrities are funny. Bruce Willis used to frequent my hometown because we have right next to it. There's this little art school that's kind of world renowned, and his daughter went to the school, so he would be in town every once in a while. And I can remember seeing him like at our shopping mall. And a buddy of mine would saw him one day in a store, and he kind of leans over and he looks in and he just goes, yeah, I could take him. And Bruce Willis is nowhere near as tall as you would think either. He's like
I'm sure
at
he's tiny.
best 5'10".
You know who's
Yeah.
the tallest?
Shoes.
The tallest celebrity I ever met was the guy that played Opie on Sons of Anarchy. Do you know
Oh
who I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Ryan. Fuck, what's
What
his
is his
name?
last name?
Ryan
It's
Hurst.
Ryan Hurst.
Okay.
I
I
met
met him as well. He is fucking giant.
He is a giant. I am 6'3", and he was easily a foot taller, maybe more than a foot taller than me. He had to be well over 7 feet tall. That is one of the tallest humans I've ever seen.
Yeah. I remember at a con here in Mississippi in Biloxi, I met Sam J. Jones, who's Flash Gordon. And I didn't think he was all that tall or anything, but I met him with two friends of mine. And I think it's the first time I've ever been the smallest person in a picture. Because I'm 6 foot even. My friends were 6'3" and 6'6", and Sam J. Jones is like 6'2". And
Oh, nice.
I look like I'm like 5'5", standing next to all of them. It's
Well, speaking of
ridiculous.
Coast Con, this kind of ties back to you, Travis, with Let's Watch Highlander. One of the celebrities I met when I first started going to conventions was at a Coast Con here in Biloxi, and they had Adrian Paul, who plays
nice.
Duncan at
Yep.
the convention. He was like the big celebrity that year, and he was not having it. He was having the worst time. I walked past his table and I heard him. He like leaned over to his handler, and he had his phone, like it was at the time it was a flip phone, and he
Mhm.
was like yelling, and like not like quiet yelling into the flip phone. It must have been like his manager. He was just like, "Get me the fuck out of here." I was just like, "Damn, man, is it that
Oh
bad?"
man.
Dude, I met Kevin Sorbo, and he was selling his own DVDs of stuff.
I'm sorry.
He had just copies of direct to DVD movies that he was in, trying to sell
Wow.
to people for $3 each.
You know,
And
that
I was
doesn't
like,
surprise
no, I don't
me.
want one.
That doesn't
I don't
surprise
want
me
one.
at all.
No thanks. No thanks, Kay. I'm good.
Like I don't even want one for free, dude. Like I don't want any of that.
So It's funny. Ryan Hurst is actually listed as 6'5.5".
There's no, he's way over that.
Yeah, no,
Now-
he's at least like 6'7", dude.
Now, I will say this: I worked twice with guys that were 6'10" and legitimately 6'10", which is insane. But the tallest celebrity I ever met was Bill Laimbeer, who's a former pro basketball player.
Mm.
He was playing a softball tournament. He's 6'11", and all of that. I was about 8 years old at the time, and he was signing autographs. And he grabbed. I had a hat on it was the Detroit Pistons like World Championship hat. He grabbed the hat and started signing it. I don't think he realized there was a kid underneath it. Like, because I came up to like his thigh.
Yeah.
Like I was barely above his knee, and it's insane how big that is. Like you don't grasp it. I'm 6'4", and I'm usually one of the bigger people in a room. So when I'm around these guys that are like 6'10", and it's like, could you go somewhere else and block out the sun, please?
It's very rare because like you're 6'4", I'm 6'3". It's very rare to come across people that are taller than we are, and when it does happen, it's striking. You're just like, holy shit, that dude's tall. Because like Kevin Nash is one of the tallest people I've ever seen in my life too.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like legit height like that is just nuts. I mean, and I live in a
It's like,
place,
how do your
northern
bones not crumble when you're that tall?
It's like everything, even at my height, the world isn't built for me.
Exactly. I hit my
Everything's
head
too
on
small.
everything. I don't know about you.
I have in the last few years, I've gotten a bed that's a California king. So it's a king size bed, but it's a little bit longer.
I used to have one.
That is the first bed I have ever had where my feet don't hang off the end of it. Ever in my life.
I know the pain.
I haven't been able to take a bath in a bathtub since I was like 14.
Dude, every once in a while I like to take a good soak in my bathtub with some Epsom salts because I'm an old man and I hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you do.
When I get in my tub, it's like, have you ever seen those videos online of like, you know, when they put like a kiddie pool out for the baby elephants? That's what it looks like when I'm in the tub.
Yeah, it's like I can have my legs in the water. I can have my torso in the water. They can't be in there at the same time. Doesn't work.
I can sit in my tub and my ass will be all the way back at one side of the tub and my feet are touching the other side of the tub. That's how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, so I can't imagine trying to be like Shaq. Like,
oh yeah.
Can you imagine?
You have to build your entire world because
not only him but Andre the Giant. Have you ever seen that the documentary about Andre the Giant? Like when he used to go wrestle in Japan. Like,
oh yeah,
how?
There was a great interview with Jake the Snake Roberts talking about spending some time with Andre, and during the interview he said something about Andre had to take a dump and he had to do it in the bathtub, and they're like, in the bathtub, and Jake stops and just looks at the interview and is like, where the hell is a giant going to take a shit in the toilet? Like, it's just not big enough. Like, he's just got to hang over the side of the bathtub and do it and then just hose it down.
That's so nasty.
It is, but like, I get it. I mean, it's just nothing is built for you. Like, you're Andre the Giant, unless you're at the zoo, you're probably the biggest mammal in the room. Like, and even at the zoo, it's toss up, depending.
Yeah. I could imagine being that big of a human being. Like, it's awful being 6'3" sometimes because they're like, there's certain cars I can't buy or even get into. Yep. Like, I have to watch my head because people always talking about like how they wish they were taller or whatever. I'm like, no, you don't, because this world's made for people that are 5.5 feet tall. Like, I hit my fucking head on everything.
Dude, it sucks being 6 feet tall and just like 3 feet wide. Like, if you're a wide boy like me, fucking, you gotta go sideways everywhere, Bubba.
Yeah.
It's rough. I've thought about redoing my kitchen and raising all my countertops by like, an inch and a half or 2 inches so that my back doesn't hurt when I try to cook dinner. Because I have to stoop over for everything. And it's just enough that's like, oh, I'm fine. But if I do anything for more than 5 minutes, oh, my back is killing me. I had to custom build the desk that I'm using so it was the right height for me.
See, like, I'm sitting here at my desk right now, and where the desk height is at, like, I've got the seat as low as it can go, my desk chair, and I'm like stooping over, like lurch, just so I can like be like sit here and like not, because if I sit up straight, like everything's like too damn low. Like it's not a world made for tall people. It's just not.
Nope, it really isn't. It's made for the average. It's made for people between like 5'5" and 5'9".
Yeah.
And if you're outside of that range, the world's not for you. You gotta.
But ironically, women will not give anyone below 6 foot the time of day.
That's also typically true, which is unfortunate because I know some great guys that are 5'9".
And I love
yeah, dude. Shout out to the short kings.
You know what?
Shout out Derek Diamond. You know what I'm saying?
I love the show that we're doing tonight. Like Jacob has like laundry behind him. I love how Jacob has like different backgrounds.
Barely holding it together, Bubba. You'll see on the video. You'll see my
girlfriend's coming in grabbing clothes.
If you listen real close, you hear my daughter screaming bloody fucking murder behind me. Okay?
Hey, at least this week you're not coming to us from, a bombed out bunker in the Ukraine.
No, facts. Speaking of large actors, though, have you guys do you know who Reb Brown is? Have you ever met Reb Brown?
Yeah, I never met him, but I know of Reb Brown. He is in one of my favorite episodes of Mr. Science Theater 3000 ever made. Was a Reb Brown movie called Space Mutiny.
Do I know that actor, Reb Brown?
So he played Captain America in the Captain America TV movie and Captain America 2: Death Too Soon. Yep. And I met him the same day that I met Lou Ferrigno at a convention, and I took pictures with both of them and felt how big they were, and I put my hand on their respective backs. And I will say that Reb Brown is the most solid human being I've ever touched in my entire life. He's 79 years old, if I remember correctly. And he's listed as 6'4". He's not 6'4". He's at least 6'7" because he's taller than Lou Ferrigno. And he is jacked to the absolute gills. Like, it's like touching just a brick shit house. This guy's back.
That's Reb Brown and Lou Ferrigno. That's a couple sides of beef right there.
Why they never did Captain America and Incredible Hulk and have them both on the screen at the same time? Have you ever experienced that original Captain America movie that was made?
Oh, yeah.
The Reb Brown one, the one where he's on the motorcycle? Yeah. I have. I've seen that. I've seen the one from 1990, the Captain America where he has rubber ears.
That is
that is another good one.
That is a movie to behold.
Yeah, one of them had Christopher Lee in it as the villain, didn't it?
I don't remember now. It's been a while. I know I've seen them, but it's been a long time because the one from 1990 starred Matt Salinger, J.D. Salinger's son, and it had Ronnie Cox was in it as the president of the United States.
Love Ronnie.
The Red
Cox.
Skull. The Red Skull was Italian for whatever reason in the movie. They changed it, and he was Italian. And he's only the Red Skull in the beginning of the movie, and then he has plastic surgery to make him look like a normal person for the rest of the movie, but just like his face is a little off. It's so weird. It's such a weird movie. But I've seen that. I've seen all the old Hulk stuff, not just the show, but the movies, like the Trial of the Incredible Hulk that had Daredevil in it.
Fantastic movie.
The one with Thor, if you remember that one.
Yeah, I remember watching that one live when it came on the TV. I was so hyped up for that. I was like, "Holy crap, Thor and Hulk! It's going to be awesome."
I don't remember seeing that one when it aired on TV, but I definitely remember seeing the Trial because I remember Daredevil, and he was in all black for some reason. They didn't have him in the red suit.
Yeah, they probably couldn't afford it.
And that bugged me. That bothered me, and it bothered my dad because my dad was a big Daredevil fan. Like half of the comics that he had still were Daredevil, including the one that either he or his brother went through and drew a mustache and goatee on every image of Daredevil in the comic.
You're correct, Jacob. Captain America 2: Death Too Soon did have Christopher Lee as the bad guy.
Wow.
Miguel.
I have so much useless information about Christopher Lee. It's insane, dude. One of my favorite actors of all time.
That was a good call, man.
What was it I just read that he was almost in and turned it down? And considered it to be something that he regretted.
I remember you were talking about this on the show not too long ago, I think.
Yeah.
What was it? I think it was on the Halloween episode. You were talking about something.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was Halloween. He was originally
Loomis?
offered the role of Loomis.
Oh yeah. That would have
That
actually
would
been
have
pretty cool.
made it a much better movie.
Carpenter wanted Loomis. He first wanted either Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing to play Sam Loomis in that movie, and they both turned it down. I guess Peter Cushing turned it down, like his agent turned it down for him. And Christopher Lee didn't want to do it at first, and then later on was like, I should have. And, you know, the rest is history. But that's what it was. But that's crazy that he was in the Captain America 2, Death Too Soon.
That's crazy. Like, he'll do Captain America 2 TV movie, but he won't do Halloween.
Right.
Yeah. And he was already an established actor when he did that TV movie.
Well, dude,
in the 70s. He's been working since the 40s. Like, what the fuck?
Dude,
Why did you do it?
He had already been Dracula for like 20 years, and he was like the story goes that he was the inspiration for James Bond because he knew who was it that writes the James Bond
Ian
books?
Fleming.
Ian Fleming. He was a friend of his.
Yeah, he was a friend of Ian Fleming in World War II, and he was like the basis, I guess, or like the inspiration for James Bond. So, and he's the only person that worked on the Lord of the Rings that actually knew J.R.R. Tolkien as a person.
Yeah.
Like the life of Christopher Lee doesn't make sense. Like the more you hear about it, the less believable it is, and it all happened.
He was at the last beheading in Paris, France, in like 1970.
No, he wasn't, dude. Come on.
And like 1978 was the very last public beheading they had in Paris, France, and he was there. Like, and they used to use guillotines on people until the 1970s.
What's crazy is how recent that is.
I know. I was alive when that happened.
What's crazy is that we don't still do it.
And I love too, like the stories of Christopher Lee on the set of, you know, all the Lord of the Rings films, which they were smart, right? Because Christopher Lee was already in his 80s at that point, and they cast him, and they were filming everything back to back. So it's like, that's a safer investment. Whereas George Lucas cast him and then wanted him to come back years later to do another Star Wars movie. It's like, it's a risk. It's a risk. You're rolling the dice. This guy is not young anymore.
Yeah.
But I love I think it was in Return of the King where his character, you know, Sauron gets stabbed in the back. And it's a great story from Peter Jackson because he's like, so I'm telling him, you know, oh, you're going to get stabbed in the back and you're going to scream and all this. And he just stops and he looks at me and he just says, do you know the sound that someone makes when they get stabbed in the back? And Peter Jackson's like, no. And he goes, well, I do. And Peter Jackson's like, so I just backed up and said, fine, you do what you think is right for the scene.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he was in World War II and was like a war hero. So I'm pretty sure he does know what people sound like to be killed up close.
And then he put out metal albums too.
I know.
He did metal albums. Like, he's the coolest person to ever live.
Yeah, he seriously is.
He's like the metal Forrest Gump.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But what was your favorite episode
cool.
that you've done so far for Wait You Haven't Seen? If you haven't listened to anybody listening to this, go check out Wait You Haven't Seen podcast. It's fantastic.
Wait, you haven't seen? Wait, you haven't seen?
Exactly. There's plenty of backlog. You got 91 episodes to go through. So, man, favorite episode. You know, it's tough because there's something in every episode that I really enjoy. I just love having the conversations. But I will say that the one you just listened to on 12 Monkeys was a lot of fun for me because SP, my guest, did not like the movie at all. And I love that movie and I love Terry Gilliam. So it was great. I honestly enjoy that sometimes because it can lead to really interesting conversations. It happened with Tank Girl was an early episode that I did where I had 3 of my friends on for that, and they all hated the movie.
Well, it's one of those
And
movies that you either get the campiness of it and you really get
Mhm.
into it and you enjoy it for what it is, or you absolutely hate it. There's really no kind of in between for that movie.
yeah. But for me personally, my favorite episodes are the ones where something surprises me. So when I saw the Triplets of Belleville, which is a French animated film,
Mhm.
that movie blew me away. It was so wonderful, and such an interesting movie. Actually, the same thing with the same guest had been on earlier, Amy Frost, and she had me watch Triplets of Belleville, but about a year before that, she had me watch Amelie for the first time.
Mm.
And like, there's no like 20-year-old me had no interest in seeing Amelie when it came out. And then I watched it, later on, and it surprised me with how much I enjoyed the movie. And those are the things I really like, is when I can have either that conversation that's surprising to me, or I watch that movie for the first time and I'm blown away by it. Even something that I had no expectations for was an anime called Redline,
Mm.
where I had the 2 hosts of The More You Nerd, Drew and Miles, on, and that was just like, it was so much fun, and it was such a movie that I wasn't expecting and I wasn't
Mm.
ready for. And I'm the kind of guy, I like everything. It takes a lot for me to be like, okay, that movie is purely bad and I don't ever want to watch it again.
Which would probably be
I've had 2.
Freaked, the movie I made you watch.
Actually, no, Freaked out watching. There's 2 movies in the 191 that I have done so far. 192 movies and 191 episodes. There's 2 that I have no desire to watch again. One of them you might be able to convince me to watch, and that's Miami Vice. I was bored through that movie, and it's a bummer because Jamie Foxx is a good actor.
Mm.
I like Colin Farrell a lot. I like Michael Mann. And Michael Mann was responsible for making Miami Vice in the first place, but it felt like a movie made by somebody who hated Miami Vice.
And I never saw that movie because it seems like one of those movies that I just would have no interest in watching.
It just kind of was like a dead fish. It just sort of was there. It visually didn't do much for me because it was an early movie of digital
Yeah.
cinema, and so it had this like really washed out color palette, and it just didn't do anything for me. So there was that one, and then there was M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, which was just hot garbage.
I refuse to watch that movie.
And, I mean, don't. It's not worth seeing. But I love so many movies, and I just and to watch them, to see the storytelling. Maybe it's because of the whole throw a dart from space and hit a bullseye. Like, I'm always fascinated that a movie even makes it to print, let alone be good. That I kind of give a lot of leeway. So there's some stuff I like that people hate, and I'm fine with that. You can be that way. You can not agree with me that Running Scared is the best buddy cop film ever made. I don't care. You're wrong, but you can disagree with me. And that's the fun part, is then having that conversation. Like 12 Monkeys was great. It's fresh in my brain, but it was great because I love that movie so much, and SP just had nothing great to say about it. But yet he really
loved the
enjoyed
TV show,
the
though.
series. Yeah. And so, but it was nice because then we could have a conversation and we could kind of look at things. Like, I kind of took from the conversation, it was Gilliam's style that really didn't register with him. And that's the parts of 12 Monkeys that for me are the most memorable, is how madcap it is, how just crazy it makes you almost feel crazy while you're watching it. I'm fascinated by stuff like that. I love when you can dive into, now, is it cartoonish in the way that it portrays mental illness? Yes. But I'm still fascinated by like showing that, and this whole idea of your main character, is he really going through what's happening or not? And that kind of stuff I really like. So for me, it was a great movie. Didn't hit with him, but it was fun to talk about that and compare and contrast our ideas of what the movie should and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So,
well, my favorite episodes are definitely the ones where you do John Carpenter movies, like In the Mouth of Madness, things of that nature. And you just did Prince of Darkness a couple episodes ago, and that's a very, very underrated John Carpenter movie. And you guys really gave it love, and I was so happy that you guys enjoyed it.
So John Carpenter is probably on my personal Mount Rushmore of directors
Mhm.
because he always has such a vision for what he wants to put on screen, and he follows through. Halloween for me is the best slasher movie I've ever seen. I love it. You can have your Friday the 13th, and honestly, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, better franchise overall. I think if you look at all of the movies, but Halloween for me, it created that. It wasn't the first slasher movie, but it really defined what a slasher movie should be and
Yeah.
how it works. And the fact that they did it all with no blood, there's very little language in it. There's some nudity, and that's about the only thing that really makes it R-rated, especially by today's standards. But I love Halloween. Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite movies ever,
Oh, me too.
because it's Carpenter just doesn't care. He's just going to do what he wants to do. I mean, he's one of the best independent filmmakers, really, because his studio stuff, his movies always flop, but then
They have a
people
long
realize
tail.
how good they are. Yes, they do.
You know what's
I mean,
interesting about Big Trouble in Little China is I would love to see John Carpenter take another stab at it, but redo it the original way he wanted to do it and make it a Western. Like actually put it in the Old West.
that would be interesting. It really would be. I think sometimes, though, I think those happy accidents are what make it. Part of what makes that movie work for me is that it's got that feel of a Western, but it's not in the Old West. And then Carpenter has this way of making something with a low budget look better than it has any right to.
Yeah.
Halloween, the perfect example. He made it for $325,000. 75,000 of that he spent on the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
But that movie looks like $1 million. It looks so good.
And a
Big Trouble
director
in
of
Little
photography
China.
that knows how to shoot shit, you know?
Yes. Yep. Big Trouble in Little China is the same thing, where it's a low budget movie. There's parts of it that look low budget, but then there's other parts that don't. And he just has his way of making it look better than it should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really, Prince of Darkness is the other one that I think of with that, because he's smart and he sets it all in one spot. He puts it all inside that church, basically. And he can maximize the money that he's spending and put it all on screen. It's always on the screen. It's not like watching, Street Fighter from the mid-90s and being like, where did all the money go? Oh, well, it went up Jean-Claude's nose.
Well, he's such a genius at setting up mood and tension. And he does that with not only the visual style, everything feels claustrophobic. Even if even if the movie is in a huge place, it feels claustrophobic. And he adds that John Carpenter music to it. And like you guys talked about, he doesn't really write the music until he's watching it, and then he just kind of plays to what's happening.
Yep. And he manages to, like, Halloween is the other reason why it's my favorite slasher, is that music. That music is so good, and it's so it sets the mood, but it doesn't tell you how to feel.
Yeah.
And yet you feel weirded out the whole time, because that music, the rhythm of it being in that 5/4 time signature, it's just off enough that your brain's like trying to process it while everything else is going on. And you just, it puts you in a weird space. And I love that. That's why, like, Carpenter there's a lot of auteurs. There's a lot of directors that also write, but he also, like, Rodriguez is another guy that just does what he wants to do. Robert Rodriguez. He's going to write a thing. He's going to shoot it the way he wants. It's going to be zany and cracked out. Like, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, I remember, actually, this is a funny story. I went and saw that movie in the theater, and I had seen Desperado. I had seen El Mariachi by that point. We're watching that movie in the theater, and our local theater, this was pre-digital, so everything came in on film, and they had to put it together on the big platters. Whoever did that missed a reel. And so there was like 20 minutes of the movie missing. None of us noticed it. We came out of the theater. There was a big group of us that went and realized that that movie felt really short.
Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on us that any part of the movie was missing, because if you've seen the movie, you know that at one point Johnny Depp's character is blind. Well, we missed the whole scene where that happened. So he just showed up all of a sudden in the movie blind, and we all just went with it because it's Rodriguez, and we're like, sure, it makes sense in his movies. Why not? Somebody just does random shit. So like that kind of stuff I love. I love directors that just they're gonna make what they want to make, and Carpenter is the king of that.
Yeah, I mean, because he's so talented with just everything that he can do. You know, he can do everything himself if he wanted to. And
he didn't set out to be a horror director.
Yeah.
You know, he Assault on Precinct 13 is an action movie. Dark Star is sci-fi, so he makes his bones with something like Halloween, and he becomes the horror guy. So he does The Thing and The Fog, but he could also do Starman, which is vastly different.
I love Starman.
Oh, it's so good, so good. Memoirs of an Invisible Man is weird, but it's interesting.
Yeah, his later stuff after there's that period of there's the 78 through the 80s era of John Carpenter where you had all those great movies. Then you had In the Mouth of Madness, which was in the mid 90s, which I think is his absolute pinnacle perfect film. And then after that is like a long kind of downward slope where most of those movies just never really connected with me anymore.
He had a little bit of trouble with commercial success, which made it tougher and tougher for him because his movies had a long tail, but they didn't do well in the box office. So yeah, if you look at from 78 and Halloween, you've got The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Christine. It's just like one after the other after the other. And it was somewhere around the first part of the 90s. In the Mouth of Madness was 94. And then he did Village of the Damned. He did Escape from L.A. And it was starting to peter out a little bit.
Yeah, once he got to Escape from L.A., like with they hired a computer animation studio that had never done computer animation before. It was just kind of like that movie was, and it was. I mean, it was also almost a shot-for-shot remake of New York anyway, just set in L.A.
What it ended up like. That movie, I remember going to the theater and seeing that one too. And I remember, I don't hate Escape from LA. And I don't hate it because when I first saw it, I was like, it was Escape from New York, but it was fun. And it's Kurt Russell doing Snake Plissken again. And you got Stacy Keach and Bruce Campbell showing up for random reasons. You barely recognize him. Yeah. I'm fine with all. But as I got older, I realized what he was doing there was he was kind of almost taking the piss out of himself in like the types of movies that he made, and he was doing kind of a self-parody of his own earlier works and sort of realizing, like, showing that you can't just keep doing what you do. You have to evolve, and this is what would happen if you don't, and if he just makes a sequel because someone wants a sequel, because that was the thing, like people wanted a sequel to Escape from New York, so he finally like, here's your damn sequel.
Because like, how do you really do a sequel to that movie? It's like
well, yeah, and I mean he's never big on sequels anyway.
Yeah, I mean look at Halloween 2. He did not want to make that movie.
No, he didn't. And you know what? The other thing with Carpenter that I will, because I have said this many times, is I will never begrudge an actor for taking a role because they get paid. The famous Michael Caine line of "I've never seen Jaws: The Revenge, but I very much enjoy the house that it helped me buy." Carpenter is like that with directing or writing, where he I remember reading an article, and he was giving an interview, and he said, "I don't care if people make sequels with my movies. Like, it's fine, whatever. They're paying me, so it's fine. Do it. Do whatever you want. Your check's gonna clear, and that's all I care about."
Yeah,
he's content with just smoking weed and playing video games now. Yeah, that's all he does.
He was saying something about, I remember something about that recently, where somebody asked him, like, what did you think of Halloween Ends or something, or whatever, one of the most recent Halloween movies. He's like, I still get a check.
Yep. And I can respect that because he has nothing to prove at this point.
His legacy is cemented. So
yeah, because you can't take away that stretch of movies like 78 to really 94. If you take out Memoirs of an Invisible Man, they're all just like, you can find somebody that's got one of those movies on a top list somewhere. They Live They Live has the greatest fight scene, one of the greatest fight scenes ever in movie. And
still one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, that movie still, the story of that movie just holds up even today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and it's great because they adapted it off of just a little sci-fi short and took it and ran it to a new level, and to get the kind of performance they got out of Roddy Piper at the time, who, I mean, you don't expect that, but that's
perfect.
That's what can happen. Like he was perfect for the role.
But Travis, we are coming up. We're actually over an hour now, and man, I could sit here and talk movies with you all night, honestly. But it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We'll have you back again because we have to continue this conversation.
Anytime. I love to. Obviously, I like talking quite a bit because I can just keep going. But this is fun. I have enjoyed this.
Well, I think we're all three here movie nerds, so we could go for a long time.
I'm a movie nerd who ironically hasn't seen a lot of movies that you guys would be pissed about that I haven't seen.
Well, if you ever need an excuse to watch them, you know who to contact. I can get you to watch one of these and we can talk about it.
Maybe we should try to find something that Jacob hasn't seen, and we do an episode of Wait You Haven't Seen and make him watch something.
I'm all for that. Let's make it happen.
We'll have to talk and figure out what you haven't seen. Because Jacob's young. He hasn't seen a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of good classics that I have not seen. So.
We'll figure something out. We'll talk offline.
All right. That sounds good.
But Travis, tell everybody out there where they can find your stuff at.
So the easiest place is tvstravis.com. That is where the feed is for Wait You Haven't Seen, and I've got links to find the other shows that I'm on, and all the social networks, whatever it is. TV's Travis, 90% chance that's me. Whether it's Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, Counter Social is a new one that I've joined.
I just joined that one
all
too.
The Twitter kerfuffle,
just in case Twitter goes to shit. I got somewhere
to
go.
Yep. So you can find me in all of those. But yeah, tvstravis.com is the easiest place to find it.
Awesome. I'll put that link in the show notes, and everybody, I'll direct everybody over there because it is a very, very one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I look forward to it every single week. You guys. It's just you. You're the main host, but you always have a rotating cast of co-hosts that come through, and you guys just talk about movies. So if you like movie talk and good movie talk, go check out Wait You Haven't Seen. And if you like Highlander, go check out Let's Watch Highlander.
When
you guys do that,
we're just about to wrap up our 5th season.
Wow, and you guys do that on Twitch. What nights do you do that?
Highlander, we do on Tuesday nights. We do the recording live.
Awesome.
Well, and what's it about?
Highlander, the series, just going through episode by episode.
Nice.
Have you ever seen Highlander, Jacob? Have you ever seen Highlander?
I've seen. They've made Highlander movies, right?
Yeah, that's what they're.
Yes, they've made.
I've seen the first Highlander a long time ago. Too many. Yeah. I've seen the first Highlander, but it's been forever.
Maybe we should make Jacob watch Highlander 2, The Quickening.
I mean, we could, but I don't want to do that again. Because in between seasons of the show, like we'll wrap up a season and then Audie and I will watch one of the movies. Because it worked out. There was 6 seasons of the series and there are 5 mainline films. So it's like it worked out perfectly to slot one in between each season. Which means we're coming up on watching the 5th Highlander movie, which is worse than Highlander 2. Like as bad as Highlander 2 is, Highlander the Source is worse.
The Source is terrible. But here, Jacob, I have a mission for you. Here's what I want you to do. Okay. Go watch the original Highlander, which is a great, really good, self-contained story. One movie. Right. Like it ends like, how do you have a sequel to this? Like it ends. You know the premise of Highlander is there can be only one. Well, ends up Connor McLeod is the fucking one. Like at the end of the movie, he's the fucking last one. They made a sequel called Highlander 2: The Quickening. You're gonna watch that. Just watch those movies back to back, and you get to Highlander 2, and you're gonna be like, "What the fuck am I watching?" It makes no sense whatsoever. None.
Here's a quick rundown of the movies for you, Jacob. All right, you've got Highlander. Great.
Okay.
Super fun. One of the best villains in film.
The Kurgan.
With Clancy Brown's The Kurgan. Highlander 2, The Quickening. Dog shit. It's a coked out fever dream of a movie. That the Renegade version, which is like trying to recut and fix all the problems they had, still hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Highlander 3, The Apology, which is we're just going to remake the first movie
with Mario Van Peebles.
With Mario Van Peebles in it. And then it was Highlander 4. Oh yeah, we made a TV show. Let's cross the streams. And then Highlander 5, they were just like, we don't care anymore. We've stopped caring whatsoever.
Highlander 5, the source feels like it was made on like handheld cameras and like over a weekend.
Highlander 5 was not theatrically released. It was the first movie that didn't get a theater release. It was not direct to video. It was direct to Sci-Fi Channel. Is where it debuted.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Some of my favorite movies are direct to Sci-Fi. You know what I mean?
Yes, but this isn't meant to be Sharknado. Like, this is supposed to be a real movie.
Hey, if you want to see my Sci-Fi Channel debut, just go watch Mississippi River Sharks, and you'll see my ugly ass in that movie. Jacob
now
loves
I have
it.
to go. Now I got to go watch it.
Yeah, maybe we should do that for we haven't seen.
Oh my!
Wait, you haven't seen Mississippi River Sharks? Oh my god,
it's terrible.
It needs to be available on Prime. Do a watch along.
Don't do it. It's horrible. Well, thank you for coming on, Travis. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And Jacob, you got anything you want to throw out there before we go tonight?
Nope.
All right. Well, here we go. If you want to email us at openmicerspodcast@gmail.com. Our Patreon is patreon.com/ompodcast. And you can follow us at openmicers on Twitter and Instagram, as long as Twitter's still around. And I may make us a counter social. Not sure yet, but you can always find us at Instagram. So thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Follow us on True Social.
Truth Social. Hell no. Well, I gotta get running. I'm gonna edit this up. Travis, this will be out. This is our next week's episode. We're recording it early for this week, so it'll be out. I think I'll release it on Monday morning, and might put it up for the patrons tomorrow. But
excellent.
If you would, if you don't mind, tomorrow on TMS, they'll drop a little hint that you were on the show, and it'll be out next week.
Yeah.
If people want to.
Well, because at some point Scott's going to ask what I've been up to, and I'm going to be like, well, what was funny is this week was going to be 5 straight days of podcasting for me, because I did Sunday night, and we normally do Monday, Tuesday, then would have been tonight, and recording tomorrow night. We had to postpone our Monday show, so I got to break that up. But I'm still like 4 out of the last 5 days I've done a podcast.
Nice.
I have a problem. It's an addiction. I can't stop.
Go ahead and end this stream. Thank you for anybody that watches this on Twitch and YouTube, and we will see you guys next week.